It means to be actually recognised by your peers is probably the highest award that anybody could get. I've never done this work to get awards, but again, the recognition of my peers is it's huge. It is huge.
Now, you've been recognised for the instrumental and inspirational role you've played in setting up the Hearing Voices movement in Victoria and more widely. Can you talk about that, what your personal experience has been in Hearing Voices, and then how you've gone on to be involved in this peer work?
The Hearing Voices movement was brought by the patriarch Ron Coleman from Scotland. The movement itself started in Maastricht, Holland, by Professor Marius Roman Sandra Escher. So it's actually done by a professor, a psychiatrist. And they found that the hearing voices was always pathologized, and it was said that voices aren't real. Whereas now we work on the precept that voices are real. They're real to the person who hears them, and something can be actively done about hearing voices and living a fulfilling life in community.
Because you said when you accepted the award that you had been given a pretty dire diagnosis early. What happened for you with the whole story?
I had a motorcycle accident in my early 20s, and from there my life went downhill. I got involved in different formats of life, and by the time I was 29 I was diagnosed as a chronic schizophrenic. I felt like I was working on a thesis, except I was writing it on a wall, a bit like the John Nash story. And the CAT team came, and I was actually quite mesmerised because I said to them, I don't like cats, I like dogs. So that was my extent of the mental health back then.
Yeah.
And since then I got involved in a Hearing Voices group very early on in about 2007, when they got introduced to Victoria. By then I was fortunate enough to meet the movers and shakers from England that are very passionate about the Hearing Voices movement. I said to Sandy Noble that I would end up working, I was going to get my meds lowered. I was going to come back, get my meds lowered and work in, find myself a job. And she, as being a curious person, she said, what job are you going to get? And I said, a job in a supermarket. And little did I realise that a mental health position was going to come up as a peer worker with Voices Vic. And so Sandy Noble, Indigo Deo and myself started up Voices Vic.
And what is the main message and the main policy impact you try and have? And you talked about the idea of living full lives and of recovery, and it's not about getting rid of the voices, is it?
No, it's not about getting rid of the voices, it's about changing the relationship one has with their voices. So you can lead an active life, like I'll hear the voices making comments on you should shut your mouth and stuff like that. And as you can see, I smile at that now. It makes me laugh rather than being worried about it. So you work on your self-esteem, your self-acceptance, the self-words. Sorry, it's a bit noisy in here.
There's a lot of award winners and very happy people.
Yeah.
But you work on that. How do you work on that? And what do you find are the strengths in how you can do that? And where do you see the barriers? What stops you from being able to get on with that?
What stops you getting on from that is usually not having any knowledge about the Hearing Voices approach. If you're a voice hearer or see visions or have tactile experiences, get involved in Hearing Voices groups, doing some training, learning about the approach and learning that it doesn't have to be a lifelong disease, but actually something that you can work with your voices and be a productive person in society.
And how do you find that the health and social sectors understand hearing voices and what roles they should play in that?
The old system before NDIS was fantastic in the essence of MHCSS
the mental health community support services,
services and all the acronyms before that. were actively engaging and getting us to do training. So they did training in the Hearing Voices approach. So their whole attitude and the way they work with people was changing. But now I don't know what's going to happen with NDIS.
What has been happening?
People are losing their jobs. People that have been experienced and worked in the field for quite a while. It's quite a scary time at the moment. But we're still pushing on. We're going to get a line item so that people can go to Hearing Voices groups. Then it's up to them to get funding through NDIS.
And what do you, so if you had the year of the politicians, and we've got a state election coming up in Victoria, what would you say? What is needed right now?
They've got to put more money into mental health and allow for services. People are getting packages, but there's no one going to be around to deliver services, because mental health has always been a non-for-profit, and trying to make money and paying people a decent wage and getting the best people working in the field is not compatible with the NDIS model.
And you're an example of what the recovery journey can do, what a Hearing Voices approach can do. Can you describe just personally, how things are better for you now?
I can actually work with my voices, not fight against them. I've had the opportunity of mentoring people and watching them develop and change the relationship they have with their voices. I've delivered training and talks. I've done a whole lot of stuff, and my life has meaning and purpose. But the greatest gift of all is I get to walk alongside. I'm part of the people's journeys. And that is the greatest gift. And no money, no award, no nothing can get the satisfaction of walking alongside someone who's been tormented by their voices and turns around and says, I've got a future outside of my voices. It's gold.
And do you come up with a lot of stigma, and is that the difficulty for people to get to be able to manage those voices? It's because they can't find their way to programs that help? Stigma, even today I'm finding that I've had the privilege of meeting some younger people as well recently, and they had never heard of the Hearing Voices approach. They didn't know that it was okay to say voices are real, or they're real to you. So even acceptance of the voices, that the voices are real, they're real to you, you hear them, means you can work on your recovery, doesn't it? But if you're waiting for someone to come with a silver platter and a magic pill to take away your trauma and distress and all that stuff associated with hearing voices, you'll be waiting for the rest of your life. And that's when I decided to get off my ass and do something about it. And what's interesting is Ron Coleman says that the magic pill, or the process of the system saying that recovery is possible through medicine, it's always around the corner. That corner has gone on for so long, it's become a circle. Yeah, very good point.
And I love that. It makes so much sense to me.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Jenna.
Thank you.
Congratulations again.